What's up guys, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about Black Ops 5. So, we have a few leaks about Black Ops 5 so far, but that's not particularly what I'm going to be talking about in this video. I will be having a video comprising all the leaks about Black Ops 5 and everything we know so far. That video will be coming up, I believe, tomorrow, so make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel with notifications on, that you guys don't miss out on that video. But today's video is going to be talking about the possibility of Black Ops 5 being delayed. So there has been a lot of talk inside Treyarch and within the community about Black Ops 5 being delayed. Big thing is because of COVID-19, of course, this pandemic going around that has affected everything across the world. But specifically, what we're referring to in this video is that this will affect Treyarch and will also affect the development of this year's Call of Duty game. So Treyarch's studio is based in Santa Monica, California, and California has been shut down, has been under lockdown from March 19th all the way still through today, April 14th. So for almost a month it has been on lockdown, and only people who work in essential businesses are able to actually go to work. And of course, video game development isn't deemed essential. A lot of businesses out there can actually work from home. So we're assuming that's most likely what's happening here, is that Treyarch is trying to work from home as much as they can. And I'm sure it's a little bit easier to do since they can probably just, use all their computers to do stuff, to model textures, to design maps, design the game, what they have to do. But there's still a lot of stuff that actually has to take place in the studio. You have voice recording, you have like motion capture, you have lots of stuff that requires time inside the studio, let alone QA. People have to be able to test this stuff out in-game, and I highly doubt that Treyarch is just letting some of their developers take home dev kits. So they're most likely not actually able to test the game at all. They're probably able to design stuff for the game, but most likely not test stuff. And this is also bad because we all know from Black Ops 4 and even Modern Warfare about the whole thing with the QA testers, about all the stuff that was going down there, especially Treyarch. There was that whole thing that went down last year with Black Ops 4 about how poorly those QA testers were being treated. But now they can't even do their jobs because they can't go into their office. And people brought up the idea that, okay, well maybe they could test the game from home. Like, what's the difference between them playing Black Ops 5 from home, testing it, playing for bugs and glitches and stuff, and the difference between like you and I sitting down and playing Warzone or something like that from at home? Well, they obviously won't allow any of these QA testers to take any of that stuff home because that'd be a huge security breach. They have no control over what these employees would actually be able to do at home. They could hook up a capture card and easily record gameplay, record stuff of it, and leak it very, very easily. Whereas if you're in a studio, it's a closed environment and it's a lot easier to keep track of leaks, contain all of it. So there's no way the QA testers can work on the game at all. And a lot of other areas of the game cannot be worked on right now. And as for this whole pandemic in general, we don't know exactly when it's going to end. This could continue for a few more weeks where everything's still in lockdown. It's appearing as though it's getting better, so Treyarch might actually be able to get back to work soon. But even if they get back to work, say this week, that will be a whole month of productivity lost where they haven't been able to work on their game. And as we all know so far from that article from Kotaku back last year, Activision is making Treyarch develop this year's Call of Duty game. So Treyarch developed their previous game, Black Ops 4, in 2018. That's when they released it. And then this year in 2020, they're releasing Black Ops 5. So Treyarch and Infinity Ward and Sledgehammer they've had 3-year development cycles. So it's switched off between Treyarch, then to Infinity Ward, then to Sledgehammer, and then back to Treyarch. Well, this year's game was supposed to be a Sledgehammer game, but it was also being co-developed by Raven. And there's reports that Raven and Sledgehammer weren't agreeing on the direction for the game, and there was a lot of disagreement between it. So Activision just came in and basically demoted them both and made them both just support studios, and instead pretty much canceled Sledgehammer's product straight up and instead gave over the reins to Treyarch and said, okay, Treyarch, Sledgehammer is screwing up this year's games. Instead, you guys are going to make this year's game and they're going to help you. So that's a big problem, one, in the first place, even if we didn't have this whole pandemic, because Treyarch has been used to having 3-year development cycles and now they got cut down to 2. And then you add on top this whole pandemic as well, them losing a month of productivity or more. But there might be some good news here, and that's that Sledgehammer Games is also helping them develop the game. There's reports that Sledgehammer's campaign is supposed to be adapted into Black Ops 5's campaign. So Treyarch is basically taking Sledgehammer's campaign, what they were working on, and kind of incorporating Black Ops elements into it, and just kind of fusing it together with their game to make a Black Ops 5 campaign, which is also supposedly supposed to be set during the Cold War and like Vietnam era, so that should be pretty cool. And then they also have Raven helping with this game, which I'm also thinking about posting a video sometime soon as well about Raven, because Raven is a great studio. Raven is currently working on Warzone. They're like the main developers behind Warzone. Raven also made Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare Remastered back in 2016. And they even made the war maps for Call of Duty World War II, and they helped out Treyarch with Black Ops 4. So Raven is an amazing support studio. But now we have Sledgehammer and Treyarch working on this year's game, so that is really good, although it's also bad because Sledgehammer is also based in California. They're based out of San Francisco. So once again, they've been on lockdown, so they couldn't do any work either. And all in all, the game seems to be in very, very rough shape. Call of Duty games have been releasing for the past 2 years in October. Black Ops 4 had some pretty big issues when that released, particularly with zombies. Zombies had so many bugs and stuff, and it took Treyarch about a month to get them all fixed, which kind of leads people to believe that if Treyarch were to be able to actually release Black Ops 4 in November, as traditionally Call of Duty games have been released in, then it would have been fine by release, but instead they had to release it a month early, and so they had all these bugs and glitches and stuff. Plus they had 4 zombies maps, so they had to stretch the QA testers really thin. And then there's also reports about how Black Ops 4's campaign got cut about like 2 years in the development. The multiplayer had to get completely redone about 2 years in development. And then they also had to create a brand new battle royale from scratch in like 15 months or less. Somehow Treyarch pulled it off. I think Black Ops 4 is a pretty great game, considering all of the things that actually happened behind the scenes with it. So I have faith that Treyarch can pull it off again this year with Black Ops 5, especially with another huge studio like Sledgehammer also helping them out. But we do have some leaked information about what's going on with Treyarch. So this all comes from the Long Sensation on Twitter. He is a reputable leaker and has proven a lot of stuff right in the past. So he recently put out a tweet talking about Modern Warfare 2 Remastered multiplayer. And part of this section of the tweet, he says COD 2020 or Black Ops was in a bad place and will be in a worse place now due to COVID-19. He says he has a theory about this though. It could release this year to help keep Activision's stock prices healthy if COD 2020 gets delayed until 2021, which is more and more likely as the days go by. So I don't think that they will delay it. I think it has to release this year, also to coincide with the release of these new next generation systems. It might not release in October. I think October might be kind of out of the question. I mean, that's only 6 months away. So if they only have 6 months to work on this game, it could be in a pretty rough shape. As for a reveal though, he previously leaked that it was going to happen in May. I mean, pretty much that's how it goes. We have reveals that happen in May. We have like teasers and stuff that usually happen in April, but of course, right now they can't go to work, so we're probably not going to be getting any teasers this month. Probably just a reveal in May. But somebody actually asked the Long Sensation this. He asked him, will they still reveal it though? And he says, not sure. There was plans for May release, but obviously that's very unlikely to happen now. Another thing that he tweeted out was in response to somebody that says, now the road to Black Ops 5. And he responded, he says, that road is full of potholes, speed bumps, and more. Enjoy Modern Warfare as long as you can. It might be a long wait. And then he also even put out a tweet clear back in February 2nd of this year, in response to somebody who asked, has development not smoothed out? And he says, not as much as it should be, 8 to 9 months from release. Now, keep in mind, that was back in February. That was before all of this global pandemic stuff happened. So now it's in an even worse shape than it was before. And he put out a more recent tweet saying 2020 COD isn't looking so great at the moment. It's also possible that the coronavirus and compulsory shutdowns could cause a game delay. This doesn't just apply to Call of Duty, but likely to a lot of games we know and love. We also know that this happened to The Last of Us 2. The Last of Us 2 got delayed indefinitely, basically until they can figure out when all this stuff is going to kind of slow down and when they're actually going to be able to print the games on discs. Because apparently that's what's going on right now, is they could release it digitally, but that would be a huge issue for the whole physical market and then just in general, so they have to wait for these places to actually be able to print it on the discs. So Last of Us 2 got delayed indefinitely, basically just meaning that they don't know when it's going to be able to be released, and so they're not putting out a release date, they're not delaying it for a few months or something like that, they're just basically going like, hey, we don't know when the game's going to release it at this point. So there's a lot of games out there, movies, just entertainment and media in general that's being affected by this. and they're getting huge delays. So honestly, this doesn't really bode well for Black Ops 5. Could Black Ops 5 actually get delayed out of this year? I really think Activision won't let that happen. I think Activision will force them to release the game pretty much no matter what this year, to coincide with the holiday release this year, capitalize on like Black Friday and of course on Christmas this holiday season. Also, especially for these next generation systems too. But to be completely honest with you guys, I still think that the game will release now in November. I don't think it's likely at all for them to have an October release date. I think that's pretty much out the window. Has to be sometime in November now. And hopefully Treyarch can actually get this game out and it can be in a really good shape. Even Black Ops 4 had some content that wasn't ready for release. I mean, Nuketown, that multiplayer map, wasn't actually with the game when it shipped. Came out like a month later. And of course, more recently, like Warzone. Warzone didn't come out with Modern Warfare at release. Warzone actually came out like 5 months after the game released. Even though Warzone is just like a compilation of all the Modern Warfare ground war maps. But maybe Treyarch will do the same thing. Maybe they'll release like a Blackout 2, a sequel to Blackout. I really hope that they do. I loved Blackout. I hope that they release it. But maybe they'll kind of do what Infinity War did, and they'll release it sometime in 2021. They won't have it ready for release, but maybe, hopefully, they'll have it ready a few months down the line. So hopefully this November we'll at least still get an amazing campaign, multiplayer, and zombies mode. But that's going to do it for the video today, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this in the comments down below. Do you guys think Black Ops 5 will get delayed? From reading all these leaks and stuff, it does not sound good. And day by day, it seems less and less likely that it will be actually able to release this year. So fingers crossed it will. But then again, it might be best if it gets delayed into next year. That way we can actually have a quality game ship and not have a broken, buggy mess when it releases. So I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I read all your comments, so make sure you guys let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.